So you think we all had strokes?
No, not exactly. If we were taken close to death, extremely close, and then brought back.
The government is starting to look shadier and shadier, so let's break down episode 3 of Manifest right here on What Happened. Rise and shine on, you lovely people. Lisa here, and it is Manifest time. Yes, episode 3 has officially aired and is called Turbulence, and in this episode, we finally get to the bottom of who killed Kelly Taylor, that woman who was on the flight and then did all these news interviews like she shouldn't have. Plus, people are starting to own their truth, and yeah, the government, that Deputy Vance guy, whatever he's called, he starts to get creepier and creepier. Now, of the 3 episodes that we've had of the show so far, this one's actually my least favorite, but it does seem like we are finally kind of getting somewhere towards figuring out what's going on. Or actually, are we? Let's just break it all down. As for Cal and Olive, they're dealing with their twin bond and, the trust and building back up that relationship, because Cal ends up ratting out Olive for sneaking out, mainly to get back at her for finding out that she is dating his best friend, or, well, former best friend Kevin. But in the end, they of course talk things out, play some cat's cradle or whatever it's called, and yeah, the bond seems to be restored. When it comes to Grace's mystery man, we learn it's this guy named Danny, and it seems like he's a friend of Grace's co-worker Rob. Now, we still don't get to meet Danny in this episode, and it seems like we may never get to if Grace has anything to do with it. When Ben finds a condom under the mattress, he gets even more paranoid about this relationship, and he really wants answers, so he finally questions Grace about this guy, but of course, she avoids kind of answering the questions and just reassures Ben that, yes, she had a hard time in that 5.5 years that she thought she lost him, but she never was not in love with him, and now that he's back, they have a second chance, she's in love with him, all of this, and that he's never gonna meet this other dude, this Danny guy, because it's over. But you know what? Her face says otherwise. And you put together that face and that expression with what Grace said earlier in the episode to Rob, the friend of Danny, because Rob said that he felt like, Grace was cheating on Danny, and she actually said she felt that way as well. So, yeah, I guess we're gonna have to wait to see just how that plays out, and I kind of feel like we'll be meeting this Danny at some point, because if this Danny guy really loves Grace, wouldn't he kind of show up to kind of fight for her love? And Ben, besides being paranoid about, this so-called affair, or whatever you want to call it, that Grace has been having, he's also paranoid this whole episode about the safety of his family. He checks the whole house for bugs, he buys a bunch of security cameras, and all of that. And he even kind of forces his way into assisting Michaela check out this murder of Kelly Taylor. So let's go ahead and talk about that and Michaela. This episode begins with a flashback to our characters on the actual flight, and Kelly muttering the words she'd rather die before flying Montego again. Yeah, probably not the best words for her to use knowing what happened to her, right? Well, in the present, the Stone family hears about Kelly's murder on the news, and of course that puts them on full alert, and Ben gets paranoid. But while this is going on, we have Michaela and Cal kind of playing this game on the fridge, moving magnets around to spell new words and phrases, and we see that Michaela has ended up spelling out the phrase, "Own your truth." Michaela ends up telling Ben that she's gonna go try to find out more about Kelly Taylor and this murder, and when she gets behind the wheel of her car, she ends up having a panic attack. And what she sees is a flashback to her friend Evie in the passenger seat, dead. From that car accident where she was killed, where Michaela was legally cleared of guilt, but that doesn't mean that she is not feeling a ton of guilt on her own. Anyway, she's not ready to drive yet, so Ben drives her, but demands to be able to come inside and, be part of her pretend investigation and be her partner. So the two actually end up getting some information from the detective on the scene about a necklace that was being stolen, how they have a guy in custody, about the followers sitting across the street, and about how they haven't even been able to recover the necklace or the gun yet. The party is interrupted though when NSA Deputy Director Vance shows up and blows these two's cover. So they decide to go talk to Kelly's husband instead, and they find out that Kelly kept saying she had a calling to do what she did when it comes to the news appearances and stuff, that she was basically acting kind of weird. So Michaela continues her research by watching Kelly's TV interviews to see if she can pick up on anything strange. And when she hears Kelly use the words "own my truth," Michaela remembers what she spelled on the fridge and she informs Ben about how that phrase just came to her. Like, she wasn't planning on putting that there. She had this feeling, it called to her, and she put it on the fridge. And now she feels like Kelly must have felt that too. So they go to see Kelly's husband, Patrick, to get more information, and he ends up informing them about how Kelly was definitely acting different the past few days. She kept saying she wanted a simpler life, she didn't want this craziness, she wouldn't wear the fancy necklace he got her, but he ended up forcing her to. And yeah, when he leaves, Ben and Michaela talk to who appears to be this housekeeper named Christine, who mentions how Kelly had gotten her hair done at the mall that day and came home with bruises, and she was just acting weird and something had to be up. But they're all interrupted when people start showing up at the house to pay their respects, and this kind of triggers Michaela again to see this memory of when she and Jared showed up at Evie's parents' house to pay their respects, but Evie's parents told Michaela she wasn't welcome there. So why exactly does this memory of Evie keep coming up to Michaela? Well, whatever it is, it causes Michaela to want to own her truth. So she goes to see Evie's parents and discovers that a lot has changed in the last 5.5 years. It appears as if Beverly, Evie's mom, is suffering from Alzheimer's or something like that, maybe just even denial, as she believes that Evie is actually still alive, and it's her husband who tells Michaela that he had to stop telling Beverly the truth because it kept breaking her heart over and over. Upset, Michaela goes back to work and ends up learning from Jared that Kelly and her husband own a mall that has a hair salon in it, and this of course triggers something because she remembers that Christine mentioned Kelly getting her hair done at a mall that she totally would have never gone to previously before this flight. So Michaela and Ben head to the mall to investigate, and when they see this kiosk worker start to run because she sees Michaela's badge, they chase this woman down and eventually learn that this lady gave Kelly those bruises as she was trying to get away from Kelly because she thought that Kelly was there to collect money from her. As it turns out, Kelly was there to try to fix things that her husband was doing wrong, which is that he only hired illegals at this mall, took almost half their income, and then threatened to call immigration if they didn't pay up. Now, as far as our 828 in this episode, we see it on a clock in one of the rooms Ben and Michaela run through while chasing this woman. I'm not sure if it actually appears anywhere else, but that's the main one that I saw watching the episode. So, Ben and Michaela end up having Patrick arrested, but his alibi is pretty solid and he couldn't have been the one to murder his wife. So Michaela needs to find out what really happened, and she goes to see Isaiah, the man that was arrested for Kelly's murder. He seems to be one of those followers that's really into this whole Flight 828 thing, and also one of the followers that was standing outside of Kelly's house. Isaiah confesses to certain things like Kelly dying in his arms, and also confesses though his innocence, but how he's willing to do the time if he can be like Michaela when he dies and comes back. And how is that? Pure.
For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, nothing concealed that will not be illuminated. What have you concealed, Michaela? Even from yourself?
Yeah, kind of eerie, right? So does this go with the theory that all the people on this flight somehow died and came back to life and are maybe now pure, and some are evil, or everyone is pure, or they have some kind of powers? I don't know, but Michaela now really wants to unburden herself, so she goes back to Evie's parents' house again to tell them the truth about the night of the accident when she only drove Evie home because Evie refused to let Michaela get an Uber, and Evie was about to actually get in the driver's seat and drive home, so Michaela felt like she had no choice but to drive her home. Michaela doesn't end up getting to tell this truth though because she's informed Beverly is missing and she has to overcome her fear and get behind the wheel and drive because Beverly's husband isn't allowed to leave the house in case she does come back. So Michaela does get in the car, drives, and finds Beverly in the middle of a road very confused, and she's, causing trouble with oncoming traffic. So Michaela has kind of she feels like one choice here, I feel like, to stop the cars from coming right at Beverly, and that is to go drive the car she's driving, to block those cars from hitting her, which causes other cars to crash. When Michaela goes to check on Beverly, but Beverly's standing still in the middle of the road, frozen, just kind of staring at that first car that crashed behind the vehicle Michaela was driving, Michaela walks over, and what do you know? In the front seat of that car is Kelly Taylor's missing necklace, and driving that car is Christine, the housekeeper. So yeah, apparently this whole Beverly wandering away into the intersection and Michaela feeling like she needed to, own her truth and go see this family in the first place led them to solve another crime. Christine confesses to this murder and that mystery is solved, but now we're kind of left with two new ones that aren't solved. During the episode, Dr. Saanvi has been busy doing research, and she's discovered a marker in hers and Cal's blood that was not there before this whole flight thing, and she finds that it could be a sign of ischemia, and the potency of this marker is on par with that of a stroke victim, which could have happened if these people were taken close to death. Now, they also think it could possibly be something maybe in the vitamins and fluids that the government gave them in the hangar when they got back off the flight that could have triggered something. So to get more information, Saanvi wants to run more tests, and she needs some brain tissue and was hoping to get that from our one deceased victim, Kelly Taylor. But unfortunately, her body is conveniently missing, and it seems like it's been stolen. Now, all signs are pointing to this body being stolen by the feds and that evil Vance, but could it possibly actually be someone else? Also, Vance did approach Jared to try to get Jared to rat on Michaela and report everything that he observes about her to Vance, but thankfully Jared ripped up the business card. So I'm glad that I can still be rooting for you, Jared. And with that, episode 3 of Manifest comes to a close. So yeah, we still don't know just what the government is up to, why our characters are hearing these voices or having these feelings to do certain things, and yeah, things are just kind of getting more confusing and crazier. I feel like Saanvi should probably check Ben and Michaela's blood too to see if, you know, there's a marker in their blood too, and that means it's just in these 20 people that showed up to the hangar that night the plane exploded, because we do know there were way more people on this plane that survived. So what is it about these 20 people? What happened to them on the plane that caused whatever happened to get triggered and make them, I guess, special? Right now, I feel like all signs are obviously pointing to a government conspiracy or test of some sort, but what exactly the test is for, not sure. But then again, that kind of seems like too obvious of a theory, so is it something else? You know, there could, you know, I'm still kind of leaning towards Cal holding the key to something, you know, but it's still fairly early in the season for solid theories to truly form. But definitely hit me up in the comments and let me know, you know, what theories you're leaning towards right now, especially with the whole 828. Is that maybe the experiment number, and everything that's 828 is all of this somehow a plan of the government, a plan of somebody? What is this? You know, what is it? And like I said, this was not one of my favorite episodes. So far, I'm finding it hard to really, I guess, find any of these characters likable. Is that right to say? I feel like they're all kind of annoying, but it's the mystery of this show that I feel like has me still, you know, hooked. I don't think the acting is horrible, but I just feel like I'm not liking anybody as of right now. And maybe that's just because they're all still very confused or have secrets they're holding on to. I don't know, but fingers crossed that maybe they get a little bit more likable as we move on. But now, I want to know, who do you think stole Kelly's body, and what did they not want found in it? Is Grace really over this Danny guy, or will the affair continue? And what did the Isaiah mean about this whole pure thing and coming back, you know? Let me know what you thought, and unfortunately I couldn't find the promo for the next episode because I didn't watch this live, and I think the account that I usually get the promos from got suspended, so can't really talk about what happens next, but you can always hit the comments down below to let me know what you think is going to happen next. And yeah, like I said, all of your theories. And after that, be sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up if you like what you see, and check out more of my videos right over here, including some of my latest interviews. And yeah, that's it for this time. I'm Lisa, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time.